Good evening. I'm Kyle Clark.
And I'm Alexandra Lewis. We start with breaking news in Lakewood, where 2 people were shot tonight. One person is dead, the other is hurt.
9 News reporter Lauren Scafidi joins us from Kipling and Colfax. And Lauren, what do we know?
It happened here at this fourplex. It's kind of hard to see with the police cars in front, but there are 2 units in front by the caution tape and 2 units in back. The shooting happened in the back. Lakewood police are still looking for the suspect tonight. All they know is that the suspect headed north on Kipling. Lakewood police got a call around 6:25 tonight about a shooting. When police got here, they found 1 man dead and another hurt. He was taken to the hospital. We don't know how he's doing tonight. Again, police do not know who is responsible, but they say it's likely the suspect and victims knew each other.
We're following up on any leads that we have as part of this investigation to help identify who that suspect is. The community has nothing to worry about at this point as far as we can tell. This seems to be an isolated incident.
Again, Lakewood police are still looking for the suspect tonight. If you know anything, call police. Live in Lakewood, Lauren Scafidi, 9 News.
Lauren, thank you.
The teen who pleaded guilty to killing 16-year-old Juan Herrera Lozano at a skate park in downtown Denver could avoid prison. Owen Ruiz was 16 years old when he shot and killed Herrera Lozano in April of 2022. He was charged as an adult. This week, though, a judge sentenced Ruiz to 7 years in a youth offender system. If Ruiz gets in trouble in the program, he will be sentenced to 32 years in prison. Prosecutors initially asked for 25 years.
One of the teenagers accused of killing a young woman by throwing a rock through her car window in Jefferson County is facing new charges for 2 separate incidents. Prosecutors say they happened months earlier and those victims survived. We spoke to one of the victims who said he was in the car with his kids at the time. Mike Morasco said somebody threw a rock at his car last year as he was driving back from his birthday dinner. The rock hit the hood and then smashed the front windshield. Morasco says the damage cost about $50,000. A motion to add new charges was filed a few weeks ago. Morasco says he didn't know that the case had been added until we gave him a call. A man accused of stabbing someone to death outside a laundromat near the Greeley Mall is now claiming self-defense. In March, Greeley police found Will Brown with several stab wounds at the laundromat. He died at the hospital. Police arrested Michael Vergara for first-degree murder. Vergara told police that it started as a fight inside and that he had no choice but to stab Brown. Court documents show that Vergara attempted to take out a restraining order against Brown a few weeks before the stabbing. That was denied. One of Brown's friends told us he can't picture Brown being violent.
He was just a big teddy bear. He loved everyone. He's looking down over us, and I know he's here in spirit.
We talked to Brown's wife, who said she never knew that Vergara had tried to file a restraining order against her husband. A former Edgewater police officer will never serve in law enforcement again after he pleaded guilty this week to charges including unlawful sexual contact.
As 9 News reporter Ria Jha shows us, he's accused of assaulting his own colleagues.
Nathan Gertis was hired here at the Black Hawk Police Department only after he lied about an investigation against him at the Edgewater Police Department. Prosecutors say this case was a marathon, but the conviction couldn't have come sooner for his victims.
Wearing a badge, it's being held to a higher standard. It's, leading by example.
A badge that Mackenzie Reese says she was forced to give up after someone else abused its power.
It's been really hard because I miss it every day.
Reese was just one of the former Edgewater police officers who resigned after she was sexually assaulted by her former sergeant, Nathan Gertis.
He used his position of power, and I guess I never really thought that somebody would be capable of doing that to somebody.
At his sentencing hearing this week, another former female Edgewater police officer detailed how Gertis sexually harassed her back in 2014.
I mean, it was vindicating knowing that I wasn't the only one. But it definitely made me feel uneasy knowing that, nothing was done for quite some time.
Gertis was sentenced to 4 years probation for charges including unlawful sexual contact, forgery, and official misconduct.
The defendant believed himself to be in this place where he was untouchable. It's very disturbing to see someone in law enforcement holding themselves out to be above the law.
We're talking years and years of similar conduct.
While Reese feels like justice has been served, she says the victims will feel the impact of his actions forever.
You know, you don't just get flashbacks of it. There's not an end to it, if that makes sense. Like, it's always something that's gonna stay with you.
Gertis could face up to 2 years in jail and up to 3 years in prison if he violates his probation. Reporting in Blackhawk, Ria Cha, 9 News.
After a gloomy start, April felt like spring today, and we're getting close to our first 70-degree day of the season. It's so exciting. I can't even get it out, Kathy.
It's been a long time since we've been able to say that.
I know. So we haven't hit 70 at all this year. Is that correct?
We have not. We've come very close. It's going to happen on Thursday and it's going to happen on Friday. And it's still very mild outside right now with fair skies and light winds. A quiet evening. We've got 70s coming up Thursday and Friday, but we're tracking a storm for the weekend, and that will mean some changes starting on Friday for the Rockies home opener. 51 degrees in Denver, so very mild this 9 o'clock hour. 40s in the mountains. Winds are coming down a little bit, but blowing pretty good over some of the higher passes. So those traveling over Berthoud Pass, Kenosha Pass, be aware of that. There may be some areas of blowing snow. High pressure is our dominant feature. Storm track goes north. Our system from yesterday is off to the east of us, creating issues for folks in the Midwest. So we're enjoying a quiet night, beautiful couple of days. California storm will not be here until Friday. And so that means we'll have very little in the way of cloud cover. Temperatures remain mild and wind should not be a big factor for us until the approach of that storm on Friday afternoon. Temperatures in the 50s until about midnight, then dropping into the mid 40s. Coming up in Maine weather, the timing of the next storm, and we'll talk in greater detail about those 70-degree days ahead as well.
Republican Congresswoman Lauren Bobert had emergency surgery today for a dangerous blood clot in her leg. Her campaign says she has been diagnosed with a blood flow disorder, but should make a full recovery. Bobert's team says she went to the hospital yesterday for swelling in her leg. They said she's been diagnosed with what's called May-Thurner syndrome. It's a rare condition where an artery in the leg compresses a vein, potentially causing life-threatening blood clots. Bobert's team says she's expected to make a full recovery and resume all of her duties. For years, a number of officers across the country have misused what's called prone restraint, holding people face down to the point that they have died.
Our investigative team has spent years looking into this, and today, Colorado lawmakers got their first chance to restrict the technique. Here's 9 News investigator Chris Vanderveen.
Right along, we're going to proceed to the fourth bill on our agenda.
In a room filled with law enforcement.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the House Judiciary Committee.
Proposed legislation impacting law enforcement was bound to get some scrutiny.
In this particular case, restricting the appropriate use of prone restraints is unacceptable.
At issue,
placing a person under arrest is a rapidly evolving and often tense scenario.
A particular way officers restrain someone during an arrest.
9 News' prone investigation uncovered 132 cases nationwide since 2010, resulting in over $145 million in settlements.
Prone or face-down restraint is common when officers attempt to handcuff someone.
Just prone him out.
But as our multi-year investigation found, sometimes officers linger on the backs of those they've handcuffed for too long, and people die.
An investigation conducted by our local 9 News found that since 2010, more than 130 people nationwide have been killed from the misuse of prone restraint.
House Bill 1372, as originally drafted, would have said officers can only use prone restraint when they fear for their lives, something officers opposed vigorously.
In this position, they can more safely be handcuffed and taken into custody.
In the end, their words worked, but so too did the words.
Excuse me?
The words of the mother of Elijah McClain.
Thank you.
The man who was held prone by Aurora officers in 2019.
Anytime I talk about my son, I cry. My son died in the prone position because your law enforcement officers decided that their training was more important than listening to my son about his own body.
She urged passage of an amended bill. As legislators heard of more deaths we covered extensively. Chad Burnett, 2020, Colorado Springs. Arthur Roybal, 2022, Adams County.
Once secured, they should be immediately brought to a recovery position that allows for normal breathing.
By an 8-3 vote, the bill passed out of committee. Should it become law, officers will have no choice. Once handcuffed, get them on their side, let them breathe freely. Something the U.S. Department of Justice recommended back in 1995. Chris Vanderveen, 9 News.
The bill's sponsors say it addresses some of the holes in the major police reform efforts of 2022. Back then, they restricted the use of carotid or neck holds, but they didn't address this issue. The officers present today said after the bill was amended, they would no longer oppose it.